it's red. And it's red. Now, my fursuit needs a few minor repairs. She's a little over a year old now, so she's still so baby. So I thought, while I'm giving her some TLC, I would talk to you guys about my new EP. My new EP is called Heads and Tails. It's 8 new songs, and it comes out on my birthday, June 21st, and hopefully this will be done before then. Oh my god, I need to clean my hot glue gun, holy shit. Now I know some people are gonna freak out that I'm using a hot glue gun on my bed, and you would be absolutely right. Please don't do this. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm just a stupid dog and I'm too lazy to like set up an actual space to do this, so I'm just doing it on my bed. Yeah, as for repairs on her, she's actually held up really, really well. Frog Dog Designs has done a beautiful job, and she's still really, really great. She's just got a few nicks, and especially like her eyelids are kind of coming off a little bit. So I'm just going to reattach those, especially some of the Velcro, just because I constantly take off her eyelids. I want to make sure that it's nice and secure. Doing a lot of this because WAF is coming up, and I want to make sure she's in tip-top shape for 3 days of basically constant fursuiting. She's also got like just a couple of the seams around her claws. I'm also just going to get, like, I have a little razor, and I'm just going to clean up some of the fur. Did you know that fursuit fur can get split ends? Things you learn after fursuiting. Yeah, you can touch up your fur and get like cool. You should clean up your split ends. So I'm going to do that, and yeah, I'm just going to give her a little TLC while I talk about my new EP. I'm beginning to smell hot glue gun fumes. That must mean it's working, right? My new EP, Heads and Tails, is coming out on my birthday, and I want to tell you kind of a little bit about it. So first and foremost, genre-wise, I'm pretty genre fluid. For me, it's very much based on like what I think each song should sound like, and kind of how I'm being inspired on the time of producing it. But something that sort of happened with this entire EP is it sounds very rock, which if you've listened to Dog Days, you'll know is a bit of a departure. Dog Days is kind of synthy and folky, and there are some synth moments on Heads and Tails, especially on the song Night Terrors, which I am going to go through each song individually. But surprisingly, this whole album is very live instrumental, and it's kind of my rock moment, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think that's because in between having finished Dog Days and started working on Heads and Tails, which was, I finished Dog Days and released it in December of last year, December of 2025, and did like the live show, and debuted actually a song I was working on at the time, Post-Con Depression, which is the opening song of Heads and Tails, at the live show. Lots of people loved it, and they were like, when's this coming out? And I'm like, I don't know, it's just a song that I thought was cool, and like I'm working on it, and who knows, maybe it'll come out as like a deluxe edition, because initially I was thinking of releasing a deluxe edition of Dog Days with like Post-Con Depression on it and a couple of the songs that I was already working on, like 175, and I thought that was going to be like where these songs came to. And then I, started working on those songs and had a very interesting 2 to 3 months after Dog Days had finished and was like rolling out, and I was like, there is a story here, and I want to explore it, and I was exploring it musically, because what was interesting is like, after Dog Days was finished, I was like, no, I still feel like there's some songs I want to keep making, and that was really inspiring, right? Because obviously I had the fear initially, after finishing Dog Days, that was it, right? I was like, cool, I did my music thing, I'm done now, As the fates did allow, I was constantly writing. I was writing a lot at work. I found that that's where I actually get a lot of my songwriting done, is, so as some of you might know if you listen to the Kennel, I am a bartender. And oftentimes the bar is quite quiet, especially like on the months that I was building up to Heads and Tails. It was just dead quiet, and so I was just writing as like an automatic writing thing, and I was just having these like loops in my head, or I'd have this idea. In fact, the main loop of Night Terrors, the night terrors, that came to me at work. Yeah, I was just doing a lot of writing in between that, just to keep my mind busy, and I was realizing I was writing a lot about what was happening to me at the time, which I'm not going to get too much into, but if you kind of want to make an educated, media-informed guess, feel free to go listen to Heads and Tails and try and figure out what the fuck I was going through. But also, like, remember that there is a level of, like, that's a hard word. Obfuscation? Where, like, these are composite sketches. I'm writing about ideas, not exact things that have happened. Like, They're exploring a feeling, and it's related to me, not anybody else, I guess. Music's weird. Media literacy is crazy in this media landscape at the moment, but I don't know. I'm just a dog. Who am I to say? But yeah, so I was writing a lot at work, and I was just realizing that there is a lot that I wanted to still write about. I thought, again, like I thought this was going to be like the deluxe edition of Dog Days, until I was like, no, this actually, there is like a cohesive idea here. Thanks to my wonderful friend, Zap Puppy, who will get mentioned again very shortly. She brought up the idea of it being its own thing. She was like, why are you making a deluxe edition when you could just make it its own thing? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And then she suggested, so the actual title, Heads and Tails, came after she saw the album cover, which looks like this, by the way. Which I will talk about where the those images came from in a moment. Sorry, I'm focusing. I'm locked in. She's locked in. Yeah, so she actually suggested calling it Heads and Tails, and I was like, that's really good because it ties with what I think the EP is really about, which is confusion. The EP is very much like something happens to you, or the world happens to you, or somebody does something, somebody betrays you in some way. You're just thrown like ass over tea kettle. You're just like, I feel like everything has flipped. I don't know where I am figuring out as I go, basically. Yeah, it's like that idea of being, tossed for heads and tails, which is why the byline of the album is love is a coin toss, because it can often feel like you're just like, I don't freaking know what I'm doing. And that's kind of also how I felt about my music at the time. It's like I just finished Dog Days and I was like, wow, that was cool. I have no idea what I'm doing next though. I have like these ideas for songs and I guess I'm just gonna figure it out. And so I did. And I think that's what Heads and Tails is about, is it's about figuring it out as you go. Cool. That is her eyelid a little bit more attached now. Good. There's like a little tail here that I want to make sure I get down as well. It's just like the little corner edges that can get a little loose from exposure over time. But that's okay. That's like one of my favorite things about fursuits actually, is that they are very much like, they're crafts, right? Which is why I personally hate the whole idea that like, maker call outs being like, this isn't made to this standard quality. And I'm like, you do realize that a person made that with their hands, right? Fursuits aren't made with machines. So unless you like obviously make like 3D printed bases, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like that is a craft. Someone put their effort and time into making that and you're like being mad about it. I don't know. I think people are quick to get mad at fursuit makers because it's money related, right? As someone who's done like art commissions before, I think the second money gets put behind something, people have a certain expectation, which is fair enough. But unfortunately, that expectation comes from mass market production, right? That doesn't come from the fact that, I think people forget that they're actually commissioning real people and real craftsmen. And I guess like, in a strange way, it like reminds me of like, I'm playing a lot of like Elden Ring and Skyrim lately, and my brain is like, when you go to the trader and like the trader, the blacksmith is the guy who makes the armor in the town and you just have to, he's known for his quality, but also like that's the guy you go to. It's kind of similar with fursuit makers, where it's like, no, that's the guy you go to because they make the fursuits. And I think it's important for us as a community to remember that our community only exists because of the artists that are in it. We should be kinder to them. Which is why, I like recognizing that like, this is a craft, this is a thing made of materials and made with hands, and the fact that it exists at all is kind of amazing. Just a thought, just a personal thought of mine. Even with my music, right? Like, I think it's important to be kind to ourselves and to our community of like, maybe the fact that it's all like handcrafted is actually really cool and a beautiful thing, and is like part of the reason our community is so cool. Same goes for like with my music production. I taught myself how to produce music while making my Dog Days album. Like I didn't know how to do that. I just taught myself. And same with like learning to play guitar for the show and learning to play bass for the new EP. Like a lot of the new EP is like the bass lines are me. That's me going bum, 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 bum on my bass, And I think it would be good for us as a community to remember that a lot of the stuff that belongs to our community is made by it, and that there's a real person behind that, even though they look like a dog. Just something to think about. Be kinder to your artists. So it's funny that I bring up the bass lines actually, because what I'm about to talk about as we go down the track list, Postcon Depression, the first song on the EP and kind of the spark of the EP. Postcon Depression was the first song that I started writing after I had finished writing Dog Days. After I knew Dog Days was like completely written, Postcon Depression was the next song. And it was written about 2 weeks after getting home from WAF of last year, like after we had done the live show and I had experienced everything I did at WAF last year. I was just really sad and I was really sick. I was really ill, and I was just like, I miss my community so freaking bad. And you know, there's this phrase, post-con depression, which is the idea of like, it's a vent drop. It's that feeling of like, you have been in a space that cares about you and loves you and is surrounded by all your favorite people and all your favorite things, and then you leave and you're like, oh my god, the real world sucks. And I was having that very, very intensely last year after WAF, and so I wrote about it, and lo and behold, post-con depression came through, and I think it's my first like kind of emo song. There are a few like really sad moments on Dog Days, but they're not angry sad. They're I am actually depressed kind of sad. Post-con depression is like, I'm pissed. I'm mad that the world is like this. Zap and I, during the production of Dog Days, and especially the live show, we knew we wanted to make a song together. I knew that I really wanted to make a song with her because she's my best friend, and she's also in my opinion, more talented musician than I am. She's an incredibly competent bassist, and she was the one who taught me how to play guitar at the live show. And I knew I wanted to make a song with her because she's my best friend and a member of the community, and she's really cool, and you know, she's great. We were like struggling to like come up with something, really put something together. At rehearsals for the live show, I was like, I think I want to play Post-con Depression, like the song that I'm writing that it isn't finished, but I think I want to do it as like a surprise song. So we together like learned and changed the chords and made basically the first demo of Post-con Depression was played live at the Renzoy at the Moon live show, which was sick. And it was kind of after that live show I realized, oh, this is the song. This is Zap and I's song. Because, you know, we went to WAP together and we both experienced, you know, we both know what we're talking about, and she is much more of an emo than I am. And so it was really cool to kind of have her stamp on that song and have her like, yes, I can help you write an emo song. I've had a few people ask like, how does she feature? She is the bassist. If you listen to Post-con Depression and you hear the sick bass line, especially in the chorus, the da 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 da, spoilers, that's Zap on bass. There's actually a really funny little snippet of a video that is us working on it on a 4K TV. She's hooked up her PC and she's just lying on the floor with my bass. Like, you know, we're working out this bass line together, and she's actually a co-producer on it as well. She helped me with like arrange the drums and arrange the bridge. The nuts ass, like what we've just been describing as the Dex Hamilton riff on the bridge and the like double time kick right at the end of the bridge, that's all Zap. Like, Zap is fully a co-producer on this, and I owe it to her that this song exists, hence why she has an official feature. I don't know, Renzoy emo song, I guess. I think we're good. I think she's reattached. Good. Do I have something else in here? I forget. I do? I do. Yes, I do. Good. Unfortunately, her tail has sprung a leak. It's actually a very hidden one. I noticed it a couple of days ago. It's just in the curve of her tail. So I'm gonna go in and just patch that up a little bit. Just because I don't want it to get any worse. And, you know, it's best to handle things as they come. Yeah, so the second song, Double Vision, which I made the second song because double. Sometimes the creative process is silly like that. And so the reason Double Vision is the second song is because two. And I'm smart like that, I guess. There's my little spool and thread. Thank you. I'm gonna use some light pink thread because it'll be hard to see through her fur. Ooh, let's see if I can get this first try. I have no idea. Oh, I did! Oh my god, that's actually insane. What the heck? What? No way. Oh, we couldn't see any of that because it's a tiny little song deal. But yes, so Double Vision was a song, again, that came to me at work, and it was this idea of meeting somebody and not inherently like dating somebody, but being attracted to somebody so bad that they feel like a punch in the face. That they feel like getting really drunk, meeting someone and just being like, oh my god, this person gives me double vision, right? Like both, and that double vision is meant to be kind of like a double entendre. Where it's like, you know, double vision because you're being punched, and being like, oh my god, like I just got punched in the face, I'm seeing stars, but also getting so drunk that you start having double vision. And yeah, so that song is basically just about like, it's another one of like Renzoy's fun little like kind of sexy songs, which a lot of people were like after Dog Days were like, Dog Days is great, it's really emotional though. The first half is really fun and sexy, and then it gets really sad, and I'm like, yeah. And so I think what was fun about working on Heads and Tails was, giving myself opportunities to write more fun songs. There are some freaking sad songs on here, but I think for the majority, Heads and Tails is a more upbeat record, if a little bit like grumpy, like angry at times. It's less sad than Dog Day is and more, I have something I want to say and I'm kind of pissed about it, Yeah, and Double Vision ended up being this really fun, like, funk production. I've had a few people ask me, like, oh, where do you get your samples from? I use Splice. I think Splice is great. Shout out to Snazzy Vaka for getting me on Splice. That's where I get a lot of, especially like I don't do drums. The only instruments I really play are guitar, ukulele, I'm learning piano, and obviously like I sing. So anything that isn't that is either something I got a friend to do or a sample off Splice. Just a little insight for you. Splice is a great sample library. It's a subscription that basically, if you've ever seen like stock photo subscriptions, it's kind of like that, but for samples. You pay a subscription price, and that gives you the license to access these samples and use them. And that is kind of where I get a lot of my fun samples from. I do mess with them pretty heavily though, both from personal taste and also I like making them feel a little bit more unique to make it a little more how I want it to sound. So one of the big things in Double Vision is, I'm about to get it again for the second try. Yeah, so the main production hook of Double Vision is the trumpet. That was kind of how the sound came together. I knew that I kind of like wanted Double Vision to be kind of flirty, kind of sexy, but also a little bit like irreverent, a little bit just like, I know this is stupid. In the same way that like Wags is like really delusional, Double Vision is also, but in a slightly different way. Of being like, I don't care, she's hot. Like, that being the downfall of the song, I guess. And so yeah, that like funk sound came very much from that trumpet loop. It also has the guitar in the background, the boom, dum, dum. That is me. That is me on my Les Paul that I got for Christmas last year that I loved a bit. That Les Paul's name is Bishop, and he's pretty cool. I like him a lot. I name all my instruments. One day I will tell you all about, if you want to know the name of all my instruments and you want like a little instrument tour, let me know. So yeah, that's Double Vision. And then we have Girl Rut, which was actually originally made just to be a song that I was kind of working on. Like I wrote the lyrics to Girl Rot first, which, funny enough, a lot of my songs actually start as lyrics because I'm writing a lot. Sometimes even songs start as a title, I like this word, I like this phrase, and I wanna build something off it, or it makes me think of something. I have this thing that sparks the idea, Girl Rot is basically, there's this phrase which I actually kind of hate. I hate and love in the same way I hate and love girl dinner, and like these like silly, almost infantilizing phrases that exist in like internet culture. I think my music does comment a little bit on like internet culture as well. I think Dog Days does that a little bit more though. So like Girl Rot is very much this idea of like, again, it ties into that idea of like betrayal, where it's like this song is, or like the writer is annoyed. Because again, these are all like composite sketches. They aren't actually really about like anything in particular. But yeah, Girl Rot's kind of just like about like, I thought the best of you until I saw the rot that you hide in yourself. And I think it's also like, it's important to remember that Girl Rot is also like sort of ignoring your own rot, right? Like to recognize someone else's downfall is to also recognize your own. And I think Girl Rot is very much like, I'm mad and I'm focusing on how I'm being treated, but also I know that I've been there and I know that I've done a similar thing, right? And I think Girl Rot it's fun. It's meant to be silly. It's not meant to be taken seriously. And I think that's why like the production on Girl Rot is also very like silly, and it's like probably the most techy sounding song on Heads and Tails, maybe other than Night Vision. Oh my god, Night Vision as like a remix of both Double Vision and Night Terrors. Like other than Night Terrors. And yeah, it's meant to be kind of just like a reverent like, man, I thought you were cool. And then like leading on from that is Nothing But Nice, which I think Girl Rot, Nothing But Nice, and Night Terrors are kind of like a little trio. Like you can kind of listen to them as like a one continuous story, which I think is kind of cool. And yeah, they kind of explore that idea of like, Nothing But Nice is kind of the more angry version of Girl Rot, where it's like, the hook is, I was nothing but nice to you. That feeling of just like, I thought that I gave you everything that I could, and I thought I was being so kind to you, and you go ahead and do something that I don't agree with. It's sitting with that feeling of almost irritation at somebody else's actions, right? But also having to tackle with the fact that like you are a part of that. There is always the possibility that you are half the reason that someone is doing shit things. It's kind of why the song doesn't really like have a solid conclusion. It ends with the line like, I'm still waiting on my life to arrive. I think it's that idea of like, I was so focused on being super nice to you that I was ignoring my own needs. You know, it's the service dog energy, I guess, of like acts of service. If you know, you know. It also features the absolutely incredible Wolf Boy. I need a pair of scissors. Hold on. Yeah, it features the absolutely awesome Wolf Boy. Shout out to him. He is an absolute legend. I met him through like the furry music scene, and you know, I had listened to his new album. I really liked it. I really liked the vibe. I thought that more like rock sound had already started developing on Heads and Tails, and I was like, I think I know someone who could add some real like gravitas to this song. And I think he does an amazing job of really capturing. What was really cool about producing his vocals is that we sit at very different registers. I have quite a high register, while his is very deep, which means layering our vocals together was an absolute treat because his vocals are just so rich and really added like this level of like sincerity to what I was saying. Because my like vocal in that song was very much like, I'm mad and I'm grumpy because I was trying to be nice. And then he comes in with like, I'm fucking sad and I wish that we could like sort things out. And I was like, whoa. Gravitas. Beautiful, that's reattached now. Stunning. Fursuit care, let's go. I love how curly her tail is. Look at that, it's so cute. Yeah, so it was really awesome to like hit him up. And he's a pal now, he's a friend. Yeah, it was just so awesome to work with him on that song. And I think he just really suited the vibes and he did an incredible job. Then we get on to Night Terrors, which again is kind of the synth moment on the album. I think Night Terrors is the song that sounds most like a Dog Days deluxe track, I guess. Basically, if we're thinking about the story of the EP, what happens when the rage quiets down and you're just left with all these things that you're unable to do anything about and you have to just sit with it. Oftentimes, it leads to the fact that you can't sleep. And that is definitely something that I struggle with as like an ADHD person. And just a person with like anxiety and all that shit. I really struggle to sleep in general. And so I wrote a song about it. And when I learned that like it was something that was also like affecting my friends, I was like, cool, this is the song. This is the song I need to write. And yeah, it's basically just about that feeling of like, I can't control what other people are doing, and yet I will still think about it. And it's the thinking about it that stops me from being able to sleep. Which is why I kind of wanted it to sound like what your thoughts sound like at 3 a.m. when you haven't slept. Which is, I think, why I produced it in the way of like being so like synth heavy and kind of weird dreamy. Like it's dream pop, but in a moody way. And yes, I really enjoyed producing that song. It's very different, and I really enjoyed that. Then we have 175, which is absolutely a Dog Days deluxe track, if there ever was one, because I think I wrote Post-Con Depression, and as I was writing Post-Con Depression, I started writing 175, because now we can get on to where the album art comes from. All that art that has been used for Heads and Tails is from my birthday last year, and in all the photos I am drunk off my tits. I am so drunk, and these photos just have such an energy to them when I look at them, of like play and confusion, and it's very much like the energy of the songs I was writing. 175 was written around the time of my birthday last year, because I was turning 25 and I was, you know, contemplating all these feelings and all these ideas that were coming to my head, and I put them into a song. And yeah, the song is very much about like, there is no correct path to go through your life. The only correct thing to do is to do the things that you actually want to do. The song really reflects on that, you know, finding what you want to do and life paths and expectations, and I really like that. I really like it. It's actually also fun because I produced a little bit of it on stream. So some lucky folks actually got to hear the process of me producing that song. I should do that more often. And then we have what I think personally is the best song on the EP, which there are a few folks in my circle who get to hear my music early and get to kind of give their 2 cents and give their thoughts, and unanimously everyone was like, Hopscotch is that girl. And I was like, you are correct. Hopscotch is... People have been telling me that it sounds like Tame Impala. I've never listened to Tame Impala, but I'll take it. I think it sounds a little bit like Glass Animals. It's very dreamy, synth poppy. If you haven't heard Heat Waves, it kind of sounds a little bit like that. Yeah, Hopscotch is very much about this feeling of like, it is the statement of the record, I think, of like this idea of love is a game, love is a coin toss. I feel like I'm figuring things out as I go, but I really don't want anyone to think that I don't know what I'm doing. It's this idea of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to put up the facade that it looks like I know what I'm doing. And I was writing a song about that and using the metaphor of, you know, hopscotch, this childhood game that everyone knows how to play, and pretending that I know how to play it. And yet no one actually tells you the rules and you have to figure it out as you go. I think one of my first personal favorite bits on that song is the break into the second verse where the melody changes. That shit goes off. Listen to Hopscotch. If you listen to any song off the EP, you should listen to Hopscotch. It's really good. And then we get to the last song on the EP, Unknowingly, which it's a bit of the weird sheep of the EP, but I think if it didn't exist, the EP would be missing something. It was originally meant to be like a really soft kind of ukulele ballad, kind of similar to like if you've heard the acoustic version of Show Dog, and I thought it was going to be like this really gentle, like sweeping ballad until I started producing it, and I was like, no, I want this to kind of sound like a country radio. Like you're in an old town and there's a radio playing this weird song that like feels so out of place and out of time and yet still captures something. And so I was playing with this idea of like dissonance and the like vocal affecting on this song, and it's kind of intentionally unpolished. It was very much this song that I was like, I kind of wanted to sound like an unfinished thought, you know? Because this whole EP is about like unfinished thoughts and unresolved things that people are dealing with. And to me, Unknowingly, it is about not knowing when or where love exists, but knowing that it does and knowing that it will come eventually. I think that's why I wanted it to feel kind of distant. I'm talking about this idea of feeling distant from one's own perception of love. And so I kind of produced it in that way. And then it has the little vocal note right at the end, which I kind of did off the cuff. It was very much like, I'm just thinking about all these ideas and I wanted to say something, and so I just turned on the mic and said stuff, saying that hope is a learned practice. You have to like put effort into being hopeful. It doesn't just come to you, you have to make the choice. And I think that as a closing remark of the EP is kind of important. You have to make your own choices. I made the choice to write an EP all about it. Anyway, I think my girl is pretty clean now and sorted out. So I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about my new music. So go stream wherever you stream my music, or go buy it on Bandcamp if you really feel so inclined. Thanks for sticking by. Bye.